Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to Ustaz Hafiz and to all my fellow friends. Today me, Humaira, along with my group member Anis Shafiqah, Nomanisa Shahida and Nushifa Usna will be presenting a slideshow titled Discussion of Price Among Muslim Scholars' View and Four Prohibition Activities in Islam. So before we go any further, we must know the basic concept of price first. So for the general meaning, price is a value that will purchase a finite quantity, weight or other product, goods and services. Um, in other words, price can make us purchase something that we want, and without price, a certain the product and services cannot be sold or cannot be carried out because there are no value in the first place. And the word price derived from the Latin word pretium, which carry three meanings. The first one is the amount of money that have been paid in order to purchase something. Um, or in other words, is it called cost? Cost is something that we need to bear for in exchange for something that we want to purchase. The second value is the value. The second definition is the value of the product or services and how it works. This second definition is similar to the general meaning earlier. And the third one is the charge or fee in exchange of receiving some benefit. Um, this third meaning mostly related to services because in services we actually paying someone in exchange for service that they have been done. For example, for mechanic, we need to pay a sum of amount of money in exchange for them to fix our car. And in Arabic wording, price is called saman or al-si'ru. The theory of price said that the determination of price actually depend on the law of supply and demand. Supply is material needed to make certain product or services, while demand is the desire or the need of certain product or services by the customer. So, when the supply is low while the demand is high, it will lead to the increase of price and vice versa. This is because when the supply, which is the raw material, is low, the production rate is also slow down. So when the demand of the certain product is high while the production rate is slow down, the the price of the product will be expensive and it will make others hard to purchase it. This can be seen during the COVID-19 pandemic because there are high demand of face mask and hand sanitizer because the demand for face mask and hand sanitizer is really high during COVID-19. Meanwhile, the supply is low. So the price of the face mask and hand sanitizer will be really expensive. So this is when the government in charge need to step in order to control and fix the price of the face mask and hand sanitizer, the same as before the pandemic. We move on to the price stated in the Quran. The first one, the first one is from Surah Yusuf, verse 20. The meaning is, and they sold him for a reduced price, a few dirhams, and they were concerning him of those content with little. Okay, this verse actually is about a group of travelers that found Nabi Yusuf in a well and proceed to sell him at a low price, which is a few dirhams. So the word price in this verse means the exchange between Nabi Yusuf for a certain money. And for the second one is from Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 41, which is mean, and believe in what I have sent down, confirming that which is already with you, and be not the first to disbelieve in it, and do not exchange my signs for a small price, and fear only me. This verse Actually Allah has forbid us to sell the Quran verse in order to gain some money, because at that time there are few people that sell Quran verse in order to gain some money. Okay, we move on to the type of price. According to the Islamic perspective, there are two types of price, which is halal price and haram price. Halal price is price of product or services that associated with things that are permissible. So all the activities of buying or selling halal product will be resulted to the halal price. For example, the activity of no fraud in measurement of groceries. For the haram price, it is the price of the product that have anything to do with prohibited things under Sharia law. For example, ihtikar. Ihtikar means keeping some product for a meantime to wait for the increases of the product in the future. This ihtikar will be discussed in detail later.
Okay, we continue with four prohibition activities in Islam and current issue. Islam encourages business activity, but it does not make the people are free to decide on business rules without any preconditions. To ensure security and safety of human beings, Islam has banned certain activities in business. Among the activities are prohibited in Islamic business that will be described ihtikar, gharar, riba, and corruption. Okay, first ihtikar. Literally, ihtikar is hoarding, collection of goods, or place to hoard. Technically, ihtikar is holding or hoarding basic human goods for profit by raising price and waiting for price to rise in the market. That means ihtikar is one of the form of trading that store goods at low price for later sale when needed at higher price at very higher price. There are verses in the Quran that prohibit the act of ihtikar. In Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 2, and cooperate in righteousness and piety, but do not cooperate in sin and aggression, and fear Allah. Indeed, Allah is severe in penalty. It can uh, it can be understood in the verse about the order to help one another and the prohibition of mistreating one another, including business matters such as stockpiling of goods. In the law of ihtikar, the scholars have different opinions. According to the Hanafi, Shafi'i, and Hanbali scholars, the goods that illegal for hoarding are staple food that is a common necessity, whether in the form of staple food for humans or staple food for livestock. Besides staple food, the law of hoarding not illegal, whereas according to the Maliki scholar, the law of ihtikar is strictly forbidden, which not specific for food only. Okay, kind of illegal goods to hoard. The scholar had different views on the objects that hoarded. The first group defines ihtikar as a hoarding that is limited to staple food, which primary only, and the second group defines ihtikar in which hoard all primary and secondary human needs. The group of scholars who defined ihtikar is limited on staple food was Imam al-Ghazali, the jurisprudence of the Shafi'i scholar, and some of the Hanbali scholar, where he argued that the ihtikar was limited to staple food only, whereas the other than staple, which secondary food such as medicine, herbs, and so on, does not include items that are banned in the hoarding even then, even that goods are edible item because what is prohibited in the text is only in the form of food. While the group of scholars who define the ethical broadly and generally include Imam Abu Yusuf, the jurisprudence of Hanafi scholar, and the Maliki scholar, argue that the prohibition of ihtikar is not confined to food, clothing, animals, but covers everything that the people need. Prohibition of ihtikar because causing harm to many people, where the harm not only limited to food, clothing and animals, but includes everything that the people needs.
Okay, so we move to hoarding issues. Based on berita harian that published on 29 March 2020, Timbalan Menteri Dua Pertanian dan Pergerakan Industri Makanan MOA, Datuk Cik Abdul Wahab Nawi stated that since now we are stuck in COVID-19 situation, any hoarding or ihtikar activities must be fully avoided by the seller. Okay, so because this is not the right time to increase the price to gain a huge profit. So the peak situation is the hoarding during the panic buying. So as you know that in the beginning of the PKP, Perintah Kawalan Pergerakan, citizen is influenced by the panic buying situation because they misunderstand about the definition of the quarantine during the PKP. So what they do is they buy a lot of things than what they needed in that time, so and it's turned out to be waste. So there are some seller in that time took this opportunity to hoard their products and start to gain the price. So because of these incidents, government really put their attention to these cases in order to make sure that the mistreatment that happened will not repeat again.
Third, riba. Riba we can say also usury. Okay, riba literally means excess, addition and augmentation. In the terms of the fuqaha, riba is a contract for the exchange of certain goods, but at the time of the exchange, it is unknown its equation according to Islamic law or submission of one or both this good is delayed. Okay, certain good refer to item that contains riba element. Okay, it is unknown its equation means one of the good it not same with one another goods. Islamic law refer to wage for the good wage. Okay, submission of one or both of this good is delay means submission goods not occur between two parties that contract at the time of the contract occur or the contract is sets a period of submission. There are Quranic verse that clearly prohibit riba in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 275. Allah has permitted trade and has forbidden interest. Types of riba. There are two main types of riba, such as riba al-buyun, which is riba of debt transaction, and riba al-buyu, which is riba of sale transaction. Riba al-qad and riba al-jahiliyah are subcategories of riba al-buyun, while riba al-nasiyah and riba al-fad are subcategories of riba al-buyu. Okay, riba al-buyun. This type of riba is arising from debt. It is the excess generated due to period. It is divided into two, riba al-qad and riba al-jahiliyah. Riba al-qad is any additional benefits charged on the grant of principal loan amount. In other words, riba al-qad involves any loan repayment excess the principal loan. This condition is met at the beginning of the loan contract. It is charged by the lender to the borrower. For example, Ahmad wanted to borrow 1,000 from Ali. However, Ali fixed the condition that Ahmad be obliged to repay the debt of 1,200. The surplus of 200 is riba. Next, riba al-jahiliyah. Riba al-jahiliyah is a rate or any additional benefit excess the principal amount imposed by the lender to the borrower due to the borrower failing to pay within the agreed period. For example, Khairul agreed to lend Ahmad 500 and was required to repay 1 month from now. But if Ahmad fails to pay Khairul's debt before awaiting the stipulated 1 month, then Ahmad is required to repay Khairul 600. The surplus 100 is riba. Okay, next riba al-buyuk. This type of riba is arising from the sale of ribawi items. It is an inequality in the wage or quantity of the exchange of two ribawi item of the exchange is postponed. Riba an-nasiyah is a sale of exchange of two ribawi item of the same kind and in the exchange is postponed. That's mean not perfect in one time. For example, Ira bought 6 grams of gold for a price 1,000 in postpone in which get the gold today and pay it next month. Riba al-nasiyah is also called riba al-iyad. Okay, riba al-fad is a sale or exchange between two ribawi items of the same type in which different weight rate or quantity. For example, convert 10 grams of gold type 916 with 12 grams of gold type 999. This type of exchange is illegal because it should be both same weight, even though the quality is different, but both are gold, so the weight must be the same during the exchange. There are two conditions that must be followed in order to avoid riba al-fad and riba al-nasiyah, namely, one must be the same weight or quantity, regardless different or quality and price, and exchange transaction must be made at one time or one event. That means the buyer and seller cannot leave before handing over the goods.
Okay guys, so we move to the issues regarding riba. Okay, so is e-wallet follow the Sharia compliance? Okay, as time goes by, the money that we use as a commodity to buy or sell anything is not only in physical type. We can transfer it by online. Okay, so the first case is about the extra money that we get after we top up our money in the e-wallet account. So as you know, if you can notice, there are some of e-wallet account that when we top up money in that account, we will get extra money from the company. So the question now is the extra money comes from customers' money? Okay, so based on Berita Harian, the lecturer from Muamalah and Economic Property of University of Science Islam Malaysia said that the e-wallet is permissible and there is no reason to make it prohibited. Okay, so the money that we got from the company is not a loan or anything that relate to the customer's money. It is taken from taxes from each purchase that made by customers. So the money that we get after we top up in the e-wallet account is the bonus for us as encouragement to keep on using their product.
The next gharar, the Arabic word gharar is al-qard, which means betting or taking risk. Gharar also means uncertainty. That means there is something that wants to hide by other side, and it can cause a sense of injustice and persecution to the other side. According to Ibn Rushd, gharar is the lack of information about the condition of the goods or objects, that there is doubt in the existence of goods, quantities and complete information relating to price. According to Sheikh Wahbah Zuhaili, also mentioned the meaning of gharar as al-qatar and al-taghir, which means an element or appearance that causes damage to something, which property or something that looks good but brought damage. The law of gharar is clearly illegal in Islam. The Prophet's word in the hadith of Abu Hurairah, the Prophet ﷺ prohibit the sale of hasha and sale of gharar. That is because Gharar said there is an element of consuming other people's property by the wrong way. Types of Gharar is divided into two types, which is like Gharar Yasir, and excess Gharar Fahish or Kabir. Like Gharar is uncertainty that difficult to avoid in certain situations because it relates to objects. Uh, this kind of horror does not cause heavy damage between the two parties. For example, by closed fruit such as durian, we don't know fruit inside is good or not. Next, excess horror fahish or kabir, is an uncertainty related to important information contractual needed to assist the parties in making decision whether to enter into the contract or not. Uh, this type of horror is prohibited by Islamic law. For example, buy food at a restaurant without knowing the price of the food until the customer receives the bill and feel lost when charged at a high price. However, uh, not all transaction contracts and so on would be illegal and not valid because of the existence of horror, as discussed by Imam Al-Nawawi and Ibn Qayyim. Not all horror become the reason for the sale ban if the horror is light or difficult to spread from it, then the business or contract is allowed by Sharia. For example, buying a house without knowing the shape of the house or its design, whether it's follow Western or Eastern style, the unknown features will not affect the condition of the house from meeting the good features of the house, such as the doors and windows and so on.
Okay, so we move to the issues regarding horror. Okay, the issues is the purchase of face masks. Okay, based on Sinharian for April 2020, the horror in face mask business reached RM 3.5 million in Malaysia. There are 501 cases were recorded during that time, and it will increase rapidly as the pandemic is still in the air. Okay, so most of the cases is about a seller who sell the face mask in media social such as Facebook, Instagram, and many online business platforms. When a buyer agreed to buy and already paid for it, but the seller did not send the face mask as requested, so the money was burned by the irresponsible seller. So because of in that cases, Pengarah Jabatan Siasatan Jenayah Komersial JSJK Bukit Aman Datuk Seri Muhammad Zakaria Ahmad said that 37 local teenager citizens that around 21 to 45 years old were arrested by the policemen and received the suitable punishment. In Kuala Lumpur, recorded as the highest cases with 64 report and reached more than RM 1.4 million, followed by Selangor with 119 cases and Pulau Pinang with 55 cases. So the government took initiative by reminding people to use and keep update to Semak Mula to protect ourselves and our money from horror. Okay, so I will continue the presentation about corruption. Okay, so what is corruption? Corruption comes from Arabic language, which means rashwa. This is something that is given to someone to bring down the truth or to justify the lie. Okay, so based on Yusuf Al-Qalawi, he said that the corruption includes consuming other people's property by the wrong way. Okay, so there are 4 types of corruption. The first one is fraud. Okay, so what is fraud? Fraud is dishonest activity that causes potential financial loss to any person or entity. For example, criminals are using fake information to get many people to donate to get a huge profit with the easiest way. Okay, so the second one is bribery. Okay, so what is bribery? Bribery is a practice of getting something that wanted, usually by cash or power, but with the money, reward, or vote. Okay, so the person offers an incentive to another individual looking to influence their thought in a particular way. Okay, so the third one is extortion. Extortion is same like the bribe, but extortion, they use a violent way to get something. If the bribe, they use the money to get reward. And but in extortion, they use the trick. They use the violent way, the rough way to get anything that they want. Okay, so the fourth one is nepotism or cronyism. Okay, so what is nepotism? Nepotism is a situation when an employer is helping his friend or relative for a certain job over applicants from the general public. Okay, so as we know that this situation is very common things that happen in our society nowadays. So actually, this is a wrong thing to do. If we want to help our relative or family, our friends to get job, they must use the good platform. They must use the clean platform to get a job. Okay, so the impacts of corruption. The first one is allocation of talent. So when we get something by corruption, by bribery, by extortion, by nepotism, we will not give our 100% of energy towards the jobs. And the second one is it will damage our social justice and equality in the economic system, because when we use the corruption, the one who rich, the one who have the money can get what they want, but the one who don't have the money, the one who poor, will not get what they want. So, and the third one is it will widen the gap between the poor and the rich. It is because the rich will getting more richer and the poor will getting poorer. Okay, so we move to the issues regarding corruption. Suruhanjaya Pencegahan Rasuah Malaysia (SPRM) is one of the government bodies that in charge to eradicate all form of corruption, abuse of power and malpractice. So the corruption cases in 2020 alone, in January, civil servants stated 50.6. Meanwhile, citizens that work in both government and private companies stated 49.38%. So in February, 43 civil servants were recorded in corruption cases and 41 cases recorded from citizens. Okay, so the latest record, which is in March, consists 25 cases among civil servants and 21 cases among citizens. So the amount of cases that happen every month cannot be predicted easily, because of the cases stated is based on the amount of the arrested corruptor. As we know that nowadays we have a lot of corruptors that have not been arrested yet.